This aircraft is regarded by many as the best flying boat of World War II, with its exceptional performance, range, heavy armament and robust construction, which was quite the opposite of other early Japanese designs. The type served all through the war and proved its worth in numerous combat missions. This was the Kawanishi H8K flying boat, or as the Allied forces called it, Emily. So let's see the history of this aircraft today. These big flying boats were used by the Japanese Navy on the Pacific, and they were created after their predecessors showed the same drawbacks we can find on many early World War II Japanese designs: the weak construction, lack of armor plating, and insufficient defensive armament, which were usually sacrificed for more range, speed, and maneuverability. To understand the history of these flying boats, let's first take a look how the Kawanishi Company, well before World War II, started to build its expertise with flying boats, and how those developments led to the H8K design. The company built several aircraft for the military in the 1920s, and in 1929 the officials tasked them to acquire a new advanced flying boat. So a team of engineers from Kawanishi visited the Short Brothers Company in England, looking for suitable designs. After evaluating several types, it was decided to purchase the license to build a modified version of the Short Rangoon flying boat in Japan, which became the Kawanishi H3K type and was accepted into service in 1932. But only 2 years later, in 1934, the Navy already issued exclusive requirements to Kawanishi for the so-called X9 project, a big 4-engine monoplane flying boat. These new specifications were extremely ambitious for the time, asking for at least 220 km/h cruise speed and more than 4,500 km range, with powerful armament and ability to carry torpedoes or bombs. And the resulting design was not just the biggest Japanese flying boat, but the biggest Japanese aircraft of its time, featuring the largest wingspan on seaplanes up to that date, with 40 meters. But similarly to many other contemporary Japanese aircraft, the designers had to balance between the extremely ambitious requirements and the relatively underpowered engines available, so their design completely lacked armor plating and fuel tank protection. This type was accepted by the Navy in January 1938 as H6K1 Navy Type 97 flying boat Model 11. But when the type started flying combat missions over the Pacific, the weakness of the design quickly became obvious. Though they had excellent range, but the H6K models were very vulnerable to enemy fire. But already back when the H6K just entered service, the Navy already ordered Kawanishi to develop a larger, more advanced new flying boat. Through 1940, a team at Kawanishi, under the lead of Shizuo Kikuhara, already worked on this new design, using the experience gathered on their former flying boats. And this was the aircraft that eventually became the H8K. If you're interested in the detailed history of the Kawanishi H6K type as well, check out my earlier video dedicated to that type. But now back to the development of the H8K. The specifications for the new flying boat again were very ambitious: 450 km/h maximum and 330 km/h cruise speed, around 4,000 km combat range, a maximum combat load between 2,000 and 3,500 kg, and a ferry range between 6,500 and 7,500 km. Kawanishi's new design featured a taller, bigger hull than its predecessor, and instead of a parasol wing, used a conventional high-wing configuration and a single tail. The first prototype was completed in December 1940, and the test flight started in January. Right at the beginning, problems were found on the aircraft. On the takeoff runs, the spray from the bow flooded the wings, inboard engines, and the cockpit. It was clear the hull needed a redesign, so with the help of the Tokyo University, changes were made on the aircraft. The hull was increased in depth by 50 centimeters, the bottom was modified, and spray strips were installed to divert the flow. These changes improved water handling by a great margin, so soon the modified prototype was handed over to the Navy for testing. Contrary to the earlier H6K model, which carried a relatively light bomb load and defensive armament, this new design was finally not constrained by lack of power, as it used 4 Mitsubishi Kasei 11 engines, each of them delivering 1,530 horsepower, which allowed the designers to improve on both offensive and defensive weaponry, based on the experiences gathered on earlier models. The new plane could carry 8 250 kg bombs or 2 torpedoes, and this defensive armament included 5 20mm cannons and additional 3 7.7mm machine guns. The fuel tanks were also armored contrary to its predecessors, and they were designed in a way that if any of them gets punctured, the fuel could be transferred to another tank. The crew protection was also improved over the H6K type, with the installation of armor plating at crucial areas. During 1941, 2 pre-production models joined the testing, which incorporated further improvements. On the last one, the nose was lengthened by 1.3 meters, the tail fin area increased, and it featured the new Kasei 12 engines. For added protection, now the fuel tanks were also pressurized with the exhaust gases. After completing the test flights, these models were accepted into service in February 1942, under the designation H8K1 Type II Flying Boat Model 11. However, the production variant's armament had to be reduced. It only featured 2 20mm cannons and 4 machine guns, because of the weight increase after the installation of all necessary equipment. The more powerful armament returned on later variants of the aircraft, so let's now take a look at those. The initial prototype was the experimental Type 13 large flying boat, powered by the Kasei 11 engines, and it carried 5 20mm cannons and 3 machine guns. The H8K1 was the first production series, powered by the Mitsubishi Kasei 12 engines, but featuring reduced armament. Only 16 units were built, as its upgraded version, the H8K2 variant, appeared only a few months after the type entered service. In early 1942, the original prototype was tested with the new 1,850 horsepower Kasei 22 engines, and the performance upgrade was immediately noticeable, so the new engines were incorporated into the design, and this upgraded version soon entered production. The increased power allowed the designers to improve the armor protection and increase the defensive armament, which now again included 5 20mm cannons and 4 additional machine guns. The fuel tanks also received the thickest protective coating on any Japanese aircraft of World War II, with approximately 40mm of rubber sheets around them. These models were the most numerous, with 112 units built. Both the H8K1 and the H8K2 models had transport variants, the H8K1L and the H8K2L, which featured reduced armament and armor protection. The H8K1L was a single aircraft, modified from the original prototype, while from the H8K2L model, 36 units were built. Further experimental versions of the type included the H8K3 variant, which was tested with retractable floats on the wings, but this variant didn't go to production. Only 2 aircraft were modified for testing. They were later rebuilt with Kasei 25B engines and became the H8K4 models. The H8K2 was 28.13 meters long, with a wingspan of 38 meters, making it comparable in size to the B-29 Superfortress. It had an empty weight of 18,380 kilograms and a maximum takeoff weight of 32,500 kilograms. The plane was powered by 4 Mitsubishi Kasei 22 air-cooled radial engines, each of them producing 1,850 horsepower. With these engines, despite its size, the plane could reach a top speed of 467 km an hour and a cruise speed of 296 km an hour. It had a range of 7,150 km and a service ceiling of 8,850 meters. The flying boat's defensive armament was impressive. It included 5 20mm cannons in the bow, tail, dorsal turret, and side blisters, plus 5 7.7mm machine guns, which could fire from hatches on the fuselage. The plane could carry either 2,000 kg of bombs or 2 800 kg torpedoes. The first combat mission of the type took place in March 1942 during Operation K, when 2 H8K1 models took off from the Marshall Islands, refueled from submarines, and attempted to bomb Pearl Harbor. but most of their bombs missed due to bad weather. The type soon took over the long-range maritime patrol and anti-submarine roles from its predecessor, and it was a successful aircraft in these tasks, responsible for sinking many Allied submarines. With its robust construction and very strong defensive armament, the type proved to be a hard nut to crack for the American pilots, who had to spend a lot of ammunition to bring these planes down. In 1943, after Admiral Yamamoto's G4M bomber transport was shut down, the building of the H8K transport variant started, as the Japanese commanders needed more resilient planes to travel. 4 of these were built as VIP transports, the remaining 32 as troop carriers. By 1944, the improved H8K3 models were tested, but they didn't enter production. As the tide of the war turned on the Pacific, the flying boats faced more and more American fighters, and despite their strong construction and heavy defensive armament, their losses mounted. By the end of the war, only 4 of these planes remained from the 167 produced. Though the H8K was a vast improvement over earlier designs, especially in survivability and defensive armament, and it is widely regarded as the best flying boat of World War II, they couldn't really influence the outcome of the war, even though they were very successful designs. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and in the comments let me know if there's any interesting events or vehicles you'd like to see.